If you clicked on my channel, my guess is that you're feeling somewhat stuck and unmotivated in your life right now. Well, you've come to the right place, because today in this video, I'm going to discuss the reasons why you might be feeling stuck on both a conscious and unconscious level. And I'm going to talk about 12 ways to get out of that feeling of stuckness and get back to finding your motivation. And I'm going to share with you one thing you absolutely do not want to be doing if you want to get unstuck and energized again. Okay, before we get going, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give the video a like, and that way you'll be in the know when my next video on thriving in your life, relationship, and family drops. All right, let's get on to it. Let's talk about reasons why you might be stuck in your life and feeling unmotivated, and then let's look at the 12 tools that are going to help get you going again and help to get you taking some action. And you want to make sure you go through and listen to all the tools, because there's one you absolutely want to be aware of that you are not doing in your life, because it will keep you stuck. So why are you stuck? Feeling stuck is not a great place to be. It doesn't feel very good. There can be a lot of pain and shame and low mood, anxiety. But what I want you to know is that being stuck happens to us all. I've had periods in my life where I've been stuck and confused and not sure about what to do. And so it is somewhat a normal state for being a human. The thing is, we don't want to stay in stuckness for too long. That's where the problems start. So first we have to identify why we may be stuck. And then there's some surface reasons why we may be stuck that the tools that I give you today will be able to help you out and get you moving again. But for others, there may be deeper reasons, more unconscious reasons why they're stuck. Some relating to trauma or things they have gone through in their past, in their childhood. And that's going to be more complex and is going to take more time to identify and sort through. So what I'm going to talk about today is the higher level stuff of ways you may be, or reasons why you may be stuck right now at the higher level, and things you can do about it. And for those of you that feel that your issues may run deeper, and that's the reason why you're feeling so unmotivated and kind of discouraged about life, then I'm going to put a link below so you can take a look at, maybe you have complex PTSD, maybe you're experiencing major depressive disorder or PTSD. And so I'll put a link below, and that can give you more information. And I would recommend that would be a time to reach out to a professional for help. So a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, your family doctor. So as I mentioned, for some of us, or for some of you out there, your reasons why you might be unstuck, you might be able to easily identify. So what you want to do is kind of think back to when you were last feeling good and things were going right for you, and how you were feeling. And then what was it that occurred that kind of nudged you off the path? So what setback did you experience? Was it the loss of someone? Was it the breakup of a relationship? Was it leaving a job? Was it having to move? Was it a family issue? Was it failing a test at school? There's usually some sort of incident or situation that we can link back to a time where we got off track. And so that's a great thing, because identifying where we got off track is going to help us get back on track again. So I want you to just reflect for a little bit, if you haven't already, as to what event do you think it was that kind of put you off the path. And again, for some people, it could be cumulative, many events in a row that kind of have worn you down and got you feeling, unmotivated and kind of just not excited about life anymore. So the first step is to try to identify what put you off the path, why you are feeling stuck. Okay, so let's say you have an inkling or you have knowledge of why you're stuck. You can kind of trace it back to something. You sort of know what it's about. and you're just not happy with where you are in life right now. Well, the first thing, step number one, is acceptance. We need to be able to accept where we are in life. And I think I've said this in a video before, it's a tough reality, but we are where we are today because of every decision that we have made. And yes, some people have started much more ahead of the game, not behind the 8 ball, and life is not fair that way. Yet in every moment you do have a choice. So you are where you are today because of choices that you've made. And as tough as that is to wrap one's head around at times, I know I've had trouble with that one, we have to accept it, because acceptance is the first step to helping us move beyond it, right? And so you may have no job today, your bank account may be depleted, you may have got kicked out of school, your girlfriend or boyfriend or partner may have just left you. That's okay. It's still all good. It's a good starting point from which you can make progress. So there could be one individual who is in the same boat. They don't have a car, they don't have a job, they don't have any money in their bank account, their partner left them, but they're feeling pretty content and pretty happy about life in general because they know things are going to get better. So it's when we try to deny reality or pretend things aren't the way they are, that's when we can kind of trip up a little bit. But we don't want to spend a lot of time living in reality either. We want to, accept this is where I am today. Maybe I made some of these choices that weren't so great, but I made the best choices I could at the time. And this is where I am now. So now I know where I want to go in the future. So I got to figure out how to get there. So you want to spend more time thinking about where you want to be going, as opposed to, where you are right now and, lamenting over your empty bank account. Okay, the number 2 tool for getting unstuck that I think is really quite helpful would be to brainstorm. So what you want to do is sit down with a pen and paper and you want to think about, maybe you're not 100% sure why you're stuck, but you want to write down maybe some of the reasons why you think you're stuck. And then knowing that you're stuck, and so I just talked about your depleted bank account, or you don't have a car, or you got kicked out of school, or whatever it is, I want you to start brainstorming and thinking of ideas of how to get unstuck. Things that you could do, even really a small step, like picking up the phone and calling another school, or asking a friend for a ride if you don't have a car and you need to get somewhere. Like something really small that you could do that's a positive step forward. So just take a moment and then write down, brainstorm all the ways you think you could get unstuck, even if it's a tiny little step. When you think back on your life, have you had experiences where you've been stuck before and you've been able to move out of stuckness? Again, I'm talking about the higher level conscious stuckness. Because if you have moved out of stuckness before, what techniques did you use to get moving and feel motivated and energized again? I'd love if you could share in the comments below, because your experiences could help others. The thing I really like about number 2, the brainstorming tool, is that when we get our thoughts flowing, we kind of get a little room opening up in our heads, and we may realize we're not as stuck as we think we are once we start putting some ideas down on paper. So that's number 3. Number 3 tool is to check your head. And you want to make sure that the thoughts you're thinking are actually true. So if you're saying, I'm trapped in this life, I'm completely stuck, there is no way out, those are some pretty serious statements, pretty, harsh statements that you are thinking and carrying around with you. So it's good to take a moment and really think, is that actually true? Like, where is the evidence that I am completely stuck in my life, that I'm trapped here, that I can't, walk out the door and move to another town and start over? Because usually when we take a really hard look and we try to find the evidence, in a lot of cases, we cannot find evidence to support our thoughts, our negative thoughts. Many negative thoughts are generally unhelpful thoughts, right? So checking your head, number 3, is very important. Check the evidence that you're truly, truly stuck. And, this may be something you want to even bounce off somebody else, a trusted friend, to say, hey, am I really stuck and, down and out, and like, is there nothing that can be done? And get some feedback, get a different perspective. So number 3 tool is check your head and look at the evidence of the thought that you are stuck or you're truly unmotivated. Because some people come to me and they say, oh, I'm stuck, I'm unmotivated. But then they tell me things like, well, last year I ran a half marathon, or I started, a new healthy eating program and lost 20 pounds. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound particularly stuck if you're doing those things. That sounds like you've got some energy and some motivation. So sometimes it's just the thoughts that we're telling ourselves. So good to check them. All right, so another line of thinking that keeps people feeling stuck is the what if circular thinking. What if, I go out today and I'm crossing the street and I get hit by a car? What if I lose my iPhone on the bus? What if I fail this test? What if I speak up in a meeting and everyone thinks I look stupid? What if I smile at that person and they just ignore me and walk away? What if, I make this choice and it's totally the wrong choice and I regret it? So all those what ifs, you can, as I was saying them, I can feel my anxiety increasing, because that's what those what if questions do. So you want to change that around. You want to make sure you're not thinking those kind of what if thoughts, and instead think, instead of what if the bad thing happened, what if the good thing happens, right? What if you don't lose your iPhone on the bus? What if you actually get a good grade on that test because you studied? What if you smile at that person and they smile back and you start a conversation? What if you sign up for a new club or volunteering thing or gym and you meet some cool new friends? So let's look at the positive what ifs, right? The glass is half empty or is it half full? We want to be looking at it through a lens of it's half full, it's not half empty. What if the good stuff happens? Not if, what if the negative stuff happens? And again, that ties in with check your head, what are you thinking? Are you thinking unhelpful thoughts? So that is number 4, watch the what ifs. All right, so number 5 on the list of tools to help get you unstuck. Number 5 is we want to work at cultivating a positive mindset. So, I'm thinking back to when I was young and in elementary school and in junior high and actually all through that time, high school, everything. I had a lot of social anxiety. I was a very anxious, shy child. And in fact, I remember going to McDonald's with my family and asking my younger sister to put my order in at the counter because I was too shy to speak to the person working there. So, now I look at that as like, wow, and it took a lot of hard knocks and a lot of small steps to build my confidence, right up until my 30s to, find my own voice and be able to, say what I want and to put boundaries in place. So this is, and you do this by cultivating a positive mindset, right? So let's say you have to public speak. And again, instead of thinking, what if I bomb it? What if you do well? Prepare for it, right? Take that small step, public speak or speak up at a staff meeting and share your idea. And from that, you build confidence, and your confidence gets more and more. It increases as you try different things, as you go from, small step to small step to small step. So I think back to that little 11-year-old, 12-year-old girl who could not order her French fries at McDonald's. And now, I've done public speaking. I've got this YouTube channel. Like, who would have thought that somebody went from there to there? But that's just maturing. And that's just, going through the slings and hits of life and growing from our tough situations. So cultivating a positive mindset is very important, because it's what we tell ourselves when we suffer the setbacks, when life knocks us down. It's what we tell ourselves that gets us back up again. So, if we're thinking those unhelpful thoughts, if we're thinking negative thoughts, how are we going to dust ourselves off and get back onto our feet and ready to try something else? We're not. So very important, again, to watch the thinking, cultivate that positive mindset. And, one thing, if you only come away from this video with one thing in your mind, I want you to know that even if you don't do any of these tools, even if you don't do anything, if you never work again, if you never go to school, you right now are 100% whole, 100% perfect. Yeah, maybe there's things we can all tweak, right? There's all things we can do here and there, but at your core, you are 100% wholly unshakable. And you have to tell yourself that. You have to believe in yourself and your unique skills and talents and gifts and your unique purpose. The world needs it. We need people to share their skills and talents with the world. And I believe everybody's here for a purpose, and part of our work is finding out what is that purpose. What are we here for? Like, where's our skills and strengths lie, and how can we help others? So that is your work, and know that even if you don't do anything and you don't do any work, you're still 100%. You're still 100%. So please keep that in mind. Super important. Cultivate that positive mindset. Number 6. So along with cultivating a positive mindset, you also want to cultivate appreciation and gratitude for where you are in life. Even if it's not your ideal place, even if you're thinking, I'd rather be in Hawaii, retired and lying on a beach somewhere. That's okay. That's great. That's good you know that. You just want to appreciate where you are now. And there's always something that we can find to appreciate where we are at this point. Because we have a lot in the Western world. We have a lot that, people living elsewhere do not have. So we can go into our bathrooms and jump in the shower and hot water comes pouring out. We don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to carry our water and bring it up from a river somewhere. We can lie down in our bed and have clean sheets and have a roof over our heads. Some people don't have that. We can look out the window or spend time in nature and hear the birds and see a sunrise and a sunset. Some people can't do that. Think about all the people that you know, and maybe there's not that many, but I know in my life, there's a lot of people who have passed away over recent years. And these people aren't here to appreciate the beauty of the world that we can have every day for free. So another great exercise is to have a gratitude or appreciation practice. So, when you wake up in the morning, list 10 things that you're grateful for. Hot water, birds singing outside my window, it snowed today, I'm having a hot cup of tea for breakfast, I'm going to see my friend later, I'm going to school and I really enjoy this course. Just write down 10 things. They don't have to be big things, they can be 10 little things. And you can do that in the morning and you can do that at the end of the day. And that again helps you cultivate that positive mindset as well. Okay, so that is number 6, gratitude appreciation list. Focus on loving yourself. Maybe you are watching this and you're feeling lonely and isolated and you're living on your own and you are feeling like you'd like companionship or connection. And I get it. I've been there. There's a lot of people out there like that. Doesn't mean it's always going to be this way. But an important thing to do in that moment when you're feeling that is to focus on loving yourself. So focus on what can you do right now to make yourself feel better. And whatever that is, going outside for a walk, taking a shower, brushing your hair, putting on lipstick, making yourself a nourishing, healthy meal so you feel better, watching a funny show. Sometimes we're looking for fulfillment and happiness and things that are outside of us, and we have to learn how to be happy where we are. So, I see people, people, I'm sure, people who are paired up, in relationships, And I just wanted to cough there. And they're not happy, right? So just because you're alone doesn't mean you have to be unhappy. You can, again, have your own practice of treating yourself really well, cherishing yourself, talking well about yourself, thinking good thoughts, and doing things that show that you love yourself. So if you've been staying home a lot, like many of us did during COVID, and we're staying home a lot and not really exploring and not trying new things, well, maybe loving yourself looks like trying something new, signing up for an art class, joining a gym, starting to work out, maybe volunteering somewhere, helping a senior, helping someone else who is maybe worse off than the situation that you're in. So if we look around us, and the great thing about that is it takes the focus on us and puts it onto someone else as well. So loving yourself also means taking some action. It's not loving yourself if you sit around and, smoke weed all day and don't do anything and don't look for a job. It's not loving yourself if you drink to excess and wake up with a hangover and feel even lower than you did before. It's not loving yourself if you gamble all your money away. So what does loving yourself look like? And what would it look like right now? And what can you do right now to make yourself feel better? Okay, so we're on number 8 already. And number 8 is taken from dialectical behavioral therapy, which is used for people with sometimes have borderline personality disorder, and different mental health issues such as that. And what it is it's doing the opposite. So I kind of always laugh when I share this tool or use this tool or read about it, because it reminds me of an old Seinfeld episode, and I'm dating myself here saying Seinfeld, where George Costanza, one of the characters, is having, life's not going well. It's not, working out in his favor, and things are going from bad to worse. So he's like, that's it. I decided, like, the decisions I make are not good. My gut instinct on things is not good. So what I'm going to do is do the opposite of what I think I should do. So that's what he does. He proceeds to go through his day and does the exact opposite of everything that he would normally do. And things work out really well for him. And he's like, this is great. Like, it really changes up his life. So that's one of the practices in dialectical behavior therapy, is doing the opposite. So right now, if you're kind of holed up in your room and it's dark and you're just hiding under the covers and you don't want to face life at all, well, maybe the thing that's going to work for you is getting out of bed and doing the opposite and going outside and taking a walk, or, stroll over to your nearest coffee shop and buy yourself a coffee, or get out of bed and have that shower. And if your room's all dark and the curtains are closed, open them up and bring some clean air in and get that motion and energy flowing. Because motion, a body in motion stays in motion, right? So if your go-to thing is, I'm going to hide out at home in my jammies watching Netflix and not say yes to any invitations when people ask me to go out and do stuff, well, try the opposite and see if that shakes up your world a little bit, because often we get in ruts and don't even know it. And I remember, as we were coming out of COVID, I just knew I had to get out of my house and see something else. Like, I was sick of my 4 walls, right? Like everybody was. And so we planned, as soon as things opened up, we planned a little mini vacation just to get out of town and go to a place we'd never been and sort of refresh ourselves. And some days we need that. So if you're doing the same thing and it's not working, try doing the opposite. Remember George Costanza on Seinfeld. So for number nine, we already kind of talked about it, earlier, and that was talk to a trusted friend, or family member, or, a professional, somebody that you trust, and, just bounce your idea or the fact that you're struggling a little bit off them and see what they say. Because often we feel like we have to do everything ourselves. We have to struggle in isolation. We feel shameful because we don't want people to know that we're struggling and having a really difficult time. And sometimes it's just the best thing. We just need to do it. And I've had that in the past where I thought when I was younger, I can do all this myself. I can be independent. I don't really need anyone else. And, that kind of that whole thought kind of broke me down. And I did need other people. I do need other people. We all need other people. So, try to speak to a friend if you can, or somebody that you trust, just to gain a different perspective. All right, tool number 10, start with one small thing. So I already talked about little, tiny action steps. And sometimes we're stuck because we just feel completely overwhelmed with all we have going on in our lives. I know I get that way. It's like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I don't even know where to start. And that's where it helps to kind of get everything out, brainstorm. We talked about that before, get everything out on paper, and then sort of just say, okay, if all I have is energy to do one thing today, what is the most important thing or most impactful thing that I can do? And let's say you don't have to do anything. Let's say it's Sunday, but you're just feeling very overwhelmed and kind of in a rut, and your place is looking like, a bit of disaster and cluttered. Then what you want to do is start with like one small area, could be your bedside table or something, where you're just like, I'm just going to clean that one area, just declutter it. So when I look at it, I'm going to get a sense of peace. And then maybe tomorrow I'll feel better about cleaning another area or tidying up some other thing. And I've heard some other like motivational talks, and they talk about how important it is to make your bed every day. And so just even making your bed, I know for me, if I walk into my bedroom and see our bed, it's like, well, it always feels better if it's fully made. But if it's all messy, it kind of like, they say your outward environment is a sign of your inward environment, like what's going on in your interiority, in your interior, consciously or unconsciously. So look around you and see what's one small thing that you could do. Start with something small, making your bed, having a shower, taking a walk, cleaning your bedside table, that kind of thing. Start small. Okay, we're getting there. We're almost at the end. We're almost at the one that I do not want anyone to be doing, because they will stay stuck. So number 11 is, now I just forgot what it was. Oh yeah, number 11 is reward yourself when you do something. So, if we're talking about before, starting with one small step, when you make the bed, reward yourself by making yourself a nice cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever it is that you drink. When you're out and about, maybe cut yourself some nice, inexpensive flowers, or take a few moments to go to the library and take out a book that you've been wanting to read, or take yourself to the gym or go for a jog, or, whatever it looks like, reward yourself. And I know when I was in school, and I was in school for many years, the way I got through like studying for tests or writing papers was there had to be a reward at the end. I had to dangle a carrot, or otherwise I wouldn't do it. So I remember thinking, okay, if you write this paper, when you finish this paper, then you can go out for a jog and take yourself out for a coffee after, or then you can go out and meet friends for dinner, but you have to do this much of the paper first. So you want to reward yourself for good behavior, right? For getting motivated and getting moving. You want to reward yourself for that. A lot of the problems become deeper when you reward yourself for not doing anything or doing behaviors that are unhelpful. Like I talked about, going out partying all night instead of looking for a job or doing your paper, waking up the next day feeling crappy, you haven't done your school paper, or you haven't looked for a job, you've spent more money and you got a pounding headache. Like that's not a helpful behavior. So, lying around watching Netflix all day kind of rewards you for that bad behavior. The flip side of that would be if you decided to, okay, I did that last night, I don't feel too great, now I got to do stuff. Well, I'm going to go for a brisk walk, I'm going to try to clear my head, I'm going to drink lots of water, I'm going to eat some good food, and then I'm going to go to the library where there's no distractions, and I'm going to work on this paper, I'm going to study. Or I'm going to go online if you're looking for work, and I'm going to try to identify like 10 jobs I could apply to on Monday morning or something. So you want to reward yourself for good behavior Don't reward yourself for unhelpful behavior. Number 12 is the one that you do not want to be doing because it's guaranteed to keep you stuck. And yeah, it's a trap. So number 10, or number 12, I should say, is stop story fondling. And I know that's a funny phrase. I got that from the coaching program that I was in, but it was very apt. So stop story fondling. So story fondling is when you have a story about an event, that's something that happened to you in your life, and that is the story that you tell everybody over and over and over again without making any changes. So it could be something like, let's say if it was for me, some of you know that I have a son who has special needs, who has a developmental delay and autism. And so if my story was from the get-go, oh my gosh, I have this son who has a disability. He may never live on his own independently. This is going to be so trying and such a trial for me. And, I just am focused on this. And, I expected a typical child. And if I had a typical child, life would be like XYZ. And that's my story. And I repeat it to everybody. And it's kind of like I'm a litany, a list of, all my woes and all my issues. And then I don't try to do anything about it. I don't try to take any positive action. And so, in my work as a coach and a therapist, I've met people who have really entrenched, iron-clad, deep stories that it is hard to get them into another groove. And that's actually what happens in your brain neurologically, is that, if you think a certain way and do a certain action over and over and over again, you basically are wearing, grooves into your brain, and it's hard to make new grooves. But we can make new grooves, and we do it through some of these things like watching your thinking and maintaining a positive mindset. And then there's deeper types of therapy you can do for people with, clinical diagnoses. And so again, that's more on the unconscious level, and the one where you need to seek professional help. So you want to be really careful that you're just kind of not harping on your same situation and issue without taking any action, positive action on it. Because the more you say it and speak it and put it out into the universe and the world, the more ingrained it becomes in you. And then it's much harder to turn that ship around, because you've just been, it's what you know, right? It's what you're absorbing and saying over and over again. So, a helpful thing that you can do is sort of say, identify when you're starting to, let's say you meet somebody and you start telling that story again. Like if I was going to tell that story, well, I have a son and, unfortunately he has this disability and, woe is me. And if I started to doing that and then I caught myself, okay, wait a minute, that's not helpful to be talking that way. That's not a helpful thought. And to take a step back and then to sort of change that up and decide to play a different tune. It's like a record in the groove and it's taking it off. No, I'm not going to play that song. I'm going to play a different song, because I know that, my son is, a wonderful, joyous being who brings much happiness into our lives. And that is what I prefer to focus on. And that is what I do focus on, as opposed to, everybody has a woe is me story, right? Everybody can say, well, my mom didn't love me as much as a kid, or, my father died when I was young, or, the love of my life left me, broke up with me, didn't love me back. Like everybody has a story like that. It's what you do with that story. And those things can make you stronger, or those things can weaken you over time. And that's where the story fondling, you want to watch that, because that weakens you over time. Okay, so there we have it. We have come to the end of reasons why you may be stuck, and 12 tools I have shared with you today that will help get you out of being stuck and back into feeling energized and motivated and curious and optimistic about your life. If you feel like you need more support, be sure to check out the links below. We'll have a bit more information, also information about working with me, as well as my It's All Good group. And if you got good value out of the video today, good information, make sure you give it a like and hit that subscribe button. And you can be first in line for when my next video on thriving in your relationship, family, and life comes out. Thank you for stopping by. Until next time.